Okay guys, so this top piece, this is Cinnamon Cider, and next to it is the color Cajun Craze, and next to that we have Terracotta Tile. So when we first looked at Cinnamon Cider, at least when I first looked at it, I thought it was brown, but actually it tones in really well with Cajun Craze, and it actually has a lot of orange to it. However, next to Cajun Craze and Terracotta Tile, it looks quite brown. So I thought, well, maybe it's quite orange, but actually next to this, this is actually pumpkin pie, which is an orange. Hello, everyone. It's nice to do this in the evening when I'm not teaching a class. There's more people available. So I just wanted to show you, you can see where Cinnamon Cider sits between the more orangey, well, kind of more reddy orangey colors, and then like a truly orange. It actually looks quite brown. So I thought, well, why don't I put it next to some browns and see what that looks like. So this is Cinnamon Cider next to our browns, and there you can see that it really is quite warm and has a lot of orange in it. So this is Early Espresso. This one is Soft Suede, and this is Crumb Cake. I don't know why I forgot that one momentarily. So this color definitely sits in between the browns and the oranges, a nice in the middle color. So the project I want to do with you tonight is maybe got a little out of hand, as in a little more advanced than I wanted it to be, but that's all right. So I decided to pair these colors together. The Cinnamon Cider and the Cajun Craze actually go quite nicely together. And then Early Espresso is just a really good neutral, and it's so dark that it will just go with anything. There, you know, there isn't like any underlying yellows or blues in there. I mean, there probably is, but it's just a really good neutral. Okay. So the project that I made to show you this color is this one here. And I thought we could do just a little wreath and show you those three colors together. So we're going to start with an Early Espresso base. I decided I want to make this card really warm. I usually would have a base that's vanilla or white because I like the really clean neutral look, but I wanted to go a little warmer tonight. Our base, and we have actually a piece of Cinnamon Cider because I did want to showcase this color, and I'm actually going to do it just slightly different than this one. So on the wreath, I wanted to do Cinnamon Cider flowers because this is the color that we're wanting to show you. However, I couldn't really put them on top of Cinnamon Cider paper, so I'm going to rearrange the colors, and hopefully it will all look good from there. So first of all, I used the stitched rectangles to cut three, obviously, rectangles to fit on this. However, you could just cut them. You don't have to have this. And then, actually, this could be quite a good little way to arrange it because we're going from light to dark, basically. And oh, I should have done it that way. Oh, that was just lucky. Normally, I would recommend putting on the top one and the bottom one and then fitting that middle one in. But fortunately, they're all the same size, so I could just sort of eyeball the spacing on this one. Now, I didn't mention it yet, but I have embossed each of these with a different folder. So I've used, they're all buried now. I've used the tin tile folder, the pine wood plank, so you probably can't see them when they're on top of each other, and the old world paper. So I didn't want anything that was too floral looking, and things that were just kind of neutral and natural looking. So what I did here, once I had those on, is I took some crumb cake and a sponge, and just very lightly, so I might even dab that off a little. Ooh, that's even more than I wanted. And just kind of went over those a little bit just to bring out the creases and such. Then you'll notice that I have some gold on there. So what I did was I took my Emboss Buddy And basically what the Emboss Buddy does is it neutralizes any sticky fingers, any adhesive that might be peeping out from the edges, anything that was wet like the ink pad, and just so now everything is dry and clean. And now I have this very special Versamark pad. Maybe you have one that looks like this. And I keep this for stuff like this where it might get dirty, or I want an ink pad that's actually fairly dry. And I'm just going to very lightly, like the lightest you can do, touch over the top of that. And then grab some gold embossing powder. So we're going a little bit extra on this project, but that's okay. I actually quite like how it turned out. Like, I think this one is good enough that I would teach it in a class. Okay, so then you see that I have, well, maybe hopefully you can see, I've got powder here on the creases. There's actually a little more gold on here than I want. I just want it in patches. So it looks like, you know, old rusty marks rather than being coated. So probably something more like that. So you can just take your finger and brush off the extra. And then we'll just heat that. It's a good idea to get your heat to a hot before you put it to your project, because if it's not quite hot enough to melt it, you could just blow the powder off. And since I have very little ink on here, there's not a lot that it's sticking to. So that's why I kind of held it out of the way for a moment. I quite like the three colors together, not necessarily, or not specifically these three, but I just mean three colors in general together and the three panels, and it's kind of a nice way to showcase the colors. And this is a nice way to do the embossing folders, reminiscent of one of the cards we did for Stamp a Stack over, I was going to say over the summer, but it actually wasn't, over our stay-at-home period. The gold looks really nice on this early espresso, doesn't it? Okay, and if you didn't quite get it all, then that's okay. It will just brush off. Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and put that onto my crumb cake mat. Oh, like I mentioned in the Just Jade video, you could go flat, but I immediately regretted that, so we're just going to go for the dimensionals. Like lots of texture and height in our projects. Okay, so on like so. Then let's make our wreath. So you may have seen these in the catalog. These are the gold hoops, I believe they're called. Now they come in paper packaging, which is fine, but if you have some of these little containers from other embellishments left, they actually fit perfectly in there. So that's a good way to reuse. I'm a big fan of reusing. Of course, recycling is great, but I think if we can reuse, then that's even better. And then we're going to use some of this Forever Greenery trim. This bundles with the gold thread that we've used over the last few days as well, and actually we're going to use some tonight as well. So I'm just going to tie some of this around, oops, one side of the hoop. Okay, I'll just let it go where it wants to go right now. And then I do 2 loops, or do it however you like so. And this ribbon is really soft, as you can see. It's, you know, very open weave. Till you're happy with that. That's actually a pretty good bow. I was a little excessive with my ribbon here. Actually, I'm going to cut those a little shorter. And then you can fray the ends if you like, or keep them nice and neat and tidy if you prefer. I like the fraying. I like the texture and the interest. Okay, then to adhere these, that's been the question that I've been asked, is how do you adhere those hoops? So here's what I'm doing. I'm going to take a glue dot underneath that knot, and then go ahead and just place that kind of where you want that bow to sit. I think on an angle in between those two colors is the best place to put it. And then I'm just going to grab another couple of glue dots and put them where I know I'm going to put flowers in a minute. Okay, and then also the flowers will have adhesive on them, and they'll help stick it down too. Okay, so then the flowers, Oh, don't tell me I've lost them. There they are. I've punched these out, so it's going to be a little different than this first one. I've punched them out in the cinnamon cider, and I've used the small balloon punch. So you may have gotten this one for free during celebration, but if not, it's now in the catalog, and I think those small ones are not that expensive. I won't say how much it is because I don't know for sure. Now these little flowers, I'm just going to wrinkle them up. I did run them through the subtle embossing folder just to make them soft, but you definitely don't have to do that. That was just an extra. You can just crinkle them, or you can even just leave them nice and clean and flat and as they were. Now I'm just looking for, there it is, my little crumb cake ink pad. So if you want to, you can just lightly go around the edges with the crumb cake. And I know we don't have crumb cake in the rest of the project, but crumb cake's just a really good neutral ink for edging, especially when it's a brown ink, a light brown ink on fairly brown cardstock. It's just going to make the edge darker. It's not really going to add particularly color. And then we're just going to put those together, and I'm going to use glue dots just so that the glue doesn't have to dry. Oops. Well, maybe I'm going to use glue dots. And then we'll just put those together a little bit on an angle, and then use another glue dot, and then we'll put that on the little wreath. This one's already together. And then put that one on. I find that everyone loves neutrals. Well, I have known one person who didn't particularly care for browns, but even she over time said she kind of changed her mind. And I think it's nice. I might put those a little closer together and that one a little further apart, just so that they're spaced just a tiny bit differently. It's a tiny detail, but I don't know, it matters to me. And then I'm going to use the gold gilded gems, and I'll use these large ones and put them in the center of those flowers. Then, just a couple more things. The love. Now, I die cut the love out of the well-written framelits. It's quite a large set, and we did use those in the Stamp-A-Stack as well. Just some really great words for your projects, especially like here. I didn't really have a good place to stamp, and I didn't really want to add more elements to it, so this was a good little solution. I've just put some ink on the edges just so it wasn't, you know, super white compared, you know, next to the brown, even though this is vanilla cardstock. Come on. Oops. And just a little bit of glue, just enough so that it won't fall off. And then just gonna lift those up and just tuck that in. And it's all right if part of the word is covered. People, you know, they'll work out what it says. They know what it says. Okay. And then to add the leaves, we're gonna go a bit rogue, and we'll use early espresso leaves. I kind of like, well, actually I do like that. And those are from the sunflower die set. Sorry, I did not make this a little more presentable, but the sunflower die set that I used in the video for for Magenta Madness. There are these little leafy images. I think that they're meant to be wheat or something, but hey, in card making, they can be whatever we want them to be. So tonight they're going to be little leafy, spriggy things to go in our autumnal wreath. That's a word I didn't even know till I moved to New Zealand. So I'm just putting a little adhesive on there. And then we're just going to tuck that underneath here. You might need to lift up your wreath a little bit and just kind of tuck it under. Make sure at least some of it's on that other color so that it shows. If it's all on the espresso, it just isn't going to show that well. And then we'll put a couple of single ones up here. And you can see that I'm just pulling off those ends. They would just be in the way, really. And We'll put that one on the inside of the wreath, so maybe that one needs to go a little closer. There, I'm happy with that. Okay, then I just decided it needed one more little detail that you maybe didn't even notice right at first. So I'm grabbing some of this gold metallic thread. So this thread and this ribbon come as a package. The middle panel is Cajun Craze. So we've got cinnamon cider, Cajun Craze, early espresso. So what I'm doing here is I've got my gold thread. I've made it into a loop. And I'm going to tuck it underneath my ribbon. I should have probably done this before I glued it down. It's all right. I'll go this direction. That's easier. And then you're going to grab that loop, maybe. There we go. And then you're going to take these tails and put them through the loop. Okay? And then just pull it till it goes tight. Oops. And then you may need a little glue dot. Glue dots are your friend. Holy cow, I use a lot of these just to tell stuff how to behave, basically. And then just use your little picky tool to put that down where you want it to be. And then I'm just going to cut those. I'm going to cut the outside one a bit longer and then the inside one a little shorter, although this ribbon, this twine is metallic, so as I mentioned earlier, it sort of has its own mind. And then I'm going to untwist them a little so they fray. Oh, I actually love how it looks. Okay, and then you'll just get those to sit down there like that. I just love that. It just adds that little extra something. Then inside our card, I will just do another layer of Very Vanilla and Cinnamon Cider, and I'm going to use this stamp set called Comfort and Hope because it had that sort of autumn, warm sort of look to it. And I know I grew up in the Northern Hemisphere, so hopefully my Kiwi friends agree with me. And I'm just going to use that little, I don't know what you'd call that little sort of checkerboardy pattern look. And I'm using Cajun Craze. And then the words, which I just had, there they are. This is the stamp set that has those words, sending you a paper hug, which I think is just so cute. I'm just going to check how I have that placed. It's always a good idea to check your words, to stamp them somewhere before you stamp them on your project. Okay, and then we'll just put those in. You ladies have been good sports staying online this long. I know this has been longer probably than my other videos, but I guess as I make cards, I just get more and more, just doing more and more. I don't do quick and easy very well, I think. And then you just want to put a little stamp on your envelope too. So I think both of them are beautiful. You may have a preference which one you like, but this is the one with Cinnamon Cider, and this is the one with Cajun Craze. So I hope you like that. I'd love to hear your opinion if you love Cinnamon Cider as much as I do, and which of the 5 new ones is going to be your favorite. All right, you ladies have a good rest of your night, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.